Mutton Shop Gaming. I'm the Mutton Shop Gamer, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Adventures of Lolo. Now, this is a game with a cult following even smaller than that of the Neverhood Chronicles. It has its fans, but it has a lot of haters from what I've seen too. So, is this game a hidden gem that's hated by a lot of people for no good reason? Or is it a piece of crap Nintendo keeps shoving in our faces instead of the other mother games? Well, let's not waste any more time and let's take a look at the Adventures of Lolo.
The game has a simple opening cutscene, but I'll explain stuff from the manual too. The land of Eden was cursed by the Great Devil, or King Edgar in Japan. Princess Lala, a fuzzy pink ball, was sent to request help by her father. Lolo, a fuzzy blue ball, is sent to protect her. Lala is kidnapped by King Edgar, who is evil because of reasons. It's up to Lolo to save her by traveling through King Edgar's tower and solving the puzzles within. Hero saves damsel in distress from bad guy is something we've all seen before, especially on the NES. And I'm not asking for a story as grand as Ninja Gaiden, but this is one of the more unoriginal stories on the NES. Although between Edgar and Eggman, I gotta ask, what is it with Japan and eggs? I mean, they're not my favorite breakfast food either, but why are the villains named after them instead of, say, calamari? Squids are evil. There's little else to say about the story, so let's just move on to the aesthetics.
The visuals are alright for the early NES.
The sprite design is pretty well done, with several varying enemies. And the game does make the different puzzle elements look distinct from one another, and in a tile-based game, that is very important. The animation is decent for an NES game, and yeah, it's not the best on the system, but this was the NES's early days, so I'm not going to give it that much grief. What I will give the game grief for is the freaking music loop. Now, I know the NES cartridge had limited data space, but come on! There's only 3 songs, 2 of which you never hear in gameplay. You have that one song, and you know what? It's a happy and cheerful little tune, but with 50 levels, it will grate on you. So I decided to take out my frustrations on you by having it be the only song played here in the main critique section of the video. Other sound effects are alright, but they're nothing to write home about. The gameplay is where the Adventures of Lolo really takes the cake, in that it is an NES game that is pretty unique from the crowd. Unlike the NES library's main way of having puzzles, this game isn't an endless puzzle game, nor is it an action game with puzzle elements. No, yes, some points of the game require fast action, but it's all in solving the puzzle, kind of like the timing in Portal, my favorite game of all time. That was something that wasn't done a lot for the NES. If somebody was looking to make a puzzle game on the NES, it would be something like Tetris or Dr. Mario, not something with a finite amount of levels. Perhaps that's why this game is in cult status, because it wasn't a typical NES action game and it didn't follow the norms for NES puzzle games. But back to the game itself. There are 50 different levels in the game. The goal is to grab a jewel from a chest that only opens when you collect all the heart framers, whether by avoiding monsters, pushing emerald blocks, or just pushing monsters and eggs around. Once you collect the jewel, all the monsters on the screen disappear, and it's just a matter of getting to the exit. Just don't push an emerald block into the doorway or you're screwed. What monsters are in the game? There's Snaky, who just stays still and looks around, Leapers, who fall asleep after they touch you, Rockies, which walk around to block Lolo in, Goal, a pink fire-breathing dragon, Alma, no, not that Alma, this Alma, which is a metal guy who chases down Lolo to roll over him, Skulls that awaken to run around after you collect all the heart framers, Medusas that stay still to shoot Lolo if he gets in their line of sight, and Dawn Medusa, who moves around a little and shoots swords at Lolo. No enemies can walk on grass, and you can block enemies with rocks, trees, and emerald blocks. It's worth noting though that the 2 Medusas can shoot through trees, but not through the rocks and the blocks. You have 5 lives, and no, I don't mean you have 5 extra lives, then go on 1 more life at 0, like in other games. Why is there always confusion about that for the NES? However, the lives don't matter at all. If you die, you start on the room where you were on. If you get a game over, you can use one of your unlimited continues to go right back to that room. You don't start the floor all over again, and it's kind of pointless to have a live system if that's all that happens. I'm guessing they made it like that because there's a suicide button. seriously. If you hit select, you kill yourself and restart the floor, which is useful because it's very easy to get yourself stuck and unable to get out. To solve puzzles, you get certain powers from heart framers. No, not even the manual tells us what the difference is between a regular one and a super one. Put your hand down. Some have magic shots that seal enemies into eggs that can be pushed around or floated on for a short time. There are also bridges that let you go over water, one-way passes that let you redirect an arrow that you can't walk against, and hammers that break blocks. The game controls oddly, though. I'll admit that it feels better to play on a traditional NES controller, so playing on the Wii U gamepad makes it a little difficult with its D-pad. But the weird thing is that even though the game is clearly tile-based, it lets you go halfway on a tile space, allowing fancier movements and complete slip-ups. Mostly slip-ups. The difficulty curve for the puzzle skyrockets at every new floor, so you'll probably need to take breaks from playing to let your brain take a rest. When you do rest, you'll notice that this is one of the best password systems on the NES. It uses only 4 characters from the Latin alphabet. No numbers for any sort of confusion. On the NES, that is pretty darn praiseworthy. So the music and visuals leave a lot to be desired, the story is nothing special, and the gameplay isn't technically that great, with nothing to really make the puzzle rooms feel any different. It's like the developers didn't know when they should stop making puzzles. They arbitrarily chose 50 levels because 50 sounded impressive. Personally, I wish they went with more quality over quantity. Maybe cut it down by at least 10 levels, add more music tracks to make it feel more varied, and make a steadier difficulty curve with the puzzles. Then it would get a hearty recommendation. While I'd still like to play the other 2 NES Lolo games out there, I can't really call this a good game.
Look, this game just isn't very good, alright? It gets a C-. It passes, but barely. I would only recommend getting it if you've already gotten every other $5 NES game on the Wii U Virtual Console, or even the Wii Virtual Console for that matter. Alright, that's it. I'll see you all next week.